Painters, the world is changing. This is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm going to show you in the next 90 minutes. In reality, video time, it's more like 20 to 30 minutes of video, but it took me a total of 90 minutes. So if you sit down at your desk, you carve out 90 minutes, you grab your Google Sheet that you've been using for years to estimate on, and you're going to have a Claude subscription, and you're going to have a functioning web application to replace that Google Sheet in the next 90 minutes. Let's dive in. All right, let's dive in. So first thing that I have here is I have my estimating template. So this is my just a takeoff worksheet that I'm going to use. And then I've got Lovable open, and then I have Claude. So I'm going to use these three programs to convert this spreadsheet into a full working, like functioning, lovable app. So what I'm going to first start with is I'm going to go into Claude, and I also am going to use a program that's called WhisperSync, WhisperFlow, that allows me to just voice text directly into here. So you'll see me doing this live. And what I'm going to do is we're going to say, I have a Google Sheet that I use as a estimate calculator for my commercial painting business, and I need to convert this into a lovable app. So my plan is to have you look at the sheet, help me ask questions about what or how I use the sheet and estimating and whatnot, and then ultimately extract all the necessary information from my brain and organize it into a markdown file that I can upload to Lovable to use this as my new estimating tool for my commercial painting business. So before we begin, I'd like you to ask me questions one by one and help me come up with a strategy to work towards this markdown file. And again, I don't want you to jump to doing tons and tons of processing or output until we're super clear on the objective. So just acknowledge that you understand what I'm looking for, and then tell me what I could upload to you or provide to you to do this. So there's my prompt, and I'm going to actually use Opus 4.6 for this because this is a more complex thing I'm asking it for. So we're going to go ahead and click submit. And so now it's going to tell us what it's thinking. And got it, Chris. You want to reverse engineer your Google Sheet. Kick things off. Go ahead and export your Google Sheet and upload it here as an Excel. So I'm going to go here, File, Download as Excel. And let's drop it in. Let me take a look at the structure. So this is what it's seeing. Header section, rows 4 to 6 is the job name. Line items are 10 to 63. 54 predefined surfaces. Number of coats, material usage, covered, that's good. Summary section is at the bottom. So here's the real questions. When you're estimating a job today, do you use all 54 line items as a fixed menu that you pick from, or do you ever add custom lines that aren't already on the sheet? I'm going to just, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to say all of the possible lines that we use are one of those 54, but not all projects use all 54. Next question. When you start a new estimate, do you ever change the default values for a line item on a job basis? For example, hollow metal doors defaults to 2 coats. Would you ever override any of those? Yes, we occasionally override the default values. Do you ever save those per job overrides back as new defaults? For example, if materials go up, I would say that I just do this annually with our blank template. The way that we use it is that we have all of our opportunities inside of HubSpot. So when a HubSpot deal moves to bid scheduled, that triggers an automation to make a copy of this Google Sheet for that particular job. and then our estimator goes into that Google Sheet and fills out the details of the project. Because I would say, as far as the permissions, essentially, I think this new app would have a login for each individual estimator. Um, and ideally, we could have like a deep link from HubSpot that takes them into the particular quote that is linked to that HubSpot deal. And then as far as the permissioning, I think obviously the deal in HubSpot has a deal owner. So if it was possible to like integrate with HubSpot potentially to show the like all deals that are in a particular stage, and those deals that are in a stage get a quote inside of this, or get an estimate calculator inside of this tool. And then basically, depending on who's logging into this app, they would see all of their estimate calculators for that corresponding deal inside of HubSpot. And then I'm also thinking it would be nice to have a button in the estimate tool to go deep link and go direct back to HubSpot as well. So they could kind of get back and forth between the two through the URL structures that each app has. Let me know if there's any other questions on that. Ideally, I would say we need to get this information into a tool called Paint Scout, which is what we use for our proposals. So the Paint Scout quote is actually generated at the same time that it's generated inside of HubSpot. So when the deal moves to bid scheduled, ideally, well, right now the Google Sheet is getting cloned and updated, and the Paint Scout quote gets created. So in the new future, it would be deal moves to bid scheduled, Paint Scout quote gets created, and then um, the this new calculator is created. And then if we could push in like the total values into a line item inside of Paint Scout, that would be ideal. If that adds too much complexity, maybe that's something we do in version 2, and instead we just have like the summary output at the bottom that we like copy and paste into Paint Scout easily. Because I don't even know if Paint Scout has the ability to add line items through an API. So it might be easier to just package all the information that we would put in the description and whatnot of the line item, and then like the total dollar amount, how many hours, gallons, things like that. Okay, so what it's saying is that it's going to break this into two versions. So the standalone calculator, and then version 2 would be exploring pushing line items into Paint Scout. The quantity column B, is the unit that measuring for most line items. Um, what unit is that measuring for most line items? So let's go look at this. Column B, if I did 5, it varies depending on the particular line, but generally it would be square feet or per linear feet or um, quantity. So, like, obviously, if it's drywall, that would be per square feet of drywall. If it's doors, it's just a quantity of doors, etc. Notes and product references. How important are those in the app? I see two types of side info in the sheet: product to be used, column like Promar, and then side notes column K, keep at 40 if done at BCP spray boost, 200. So column K are just reminders or notes to the estimator. I would say if there's a way to tastefully put those in just as like little info pop-up things that they could reference if necessary, or small text, but I'll take your recommendation on that. And no, they do not need to be visible in the final summary that goes to Paint Scout. Yes, so column J should be editable. I think that it would be nice to have a product list that exists somewhere in the system with like the common ones so that it's like a drop down select of the product. And I think that's probably going to need to be a searchable drop down select in case there's, dozens of product, but definitely alphabetized. And for the starting list of products, we can just use the ones that are visible on this. And then if someone needs to add a product, they could do that on the line as well. And yes, we would want the products that's going to be used in the Paint Scout summary for sure. Okay, so at the bottom of the sheet here, we have a few things: total cost, markup, overhead cost as a percent of labor, material. The tax rate is a global one. The miscellaneous hours multiplier, that could vary job to job. The hourly labor rate is job by job. Source deductions, that would be overall. Overhead percent of labor, that's going to be a default, but could adjust per job. And then the profit markup would also adjust per job. The additional job cost section, gas, travel time, sundries, are those 5 categories fixed? They always need to add other cost categories. Those are the fixed ones, and we never add other categories outside of those. Yes, those are free text fields, and we do need to have those go over to the Paint Scout summary as well, for sure. I think that we should also be sending over to Paint Scout the material cost. And again, I don't know what you're thinking about for the final output, but basically there's going to be a number of different things that we're going to have to copy and paste. So making it easy to copy and paste with like a copy icon that quickly copies the description and pastes that in. And then we'd want to put in like the hours. Those like numbers would be so easy to type that we probably wouldn't do copy and paste on those, but we would want to see like hours, gallons. The product list I don't think would go to Paint Scout, or it would be listed. It's not going to be like a mapped product list. I'm not sure what that's for, so I'll let you recommend what we do with that. I think let's just treat it as a reminder for now. I don't think that it's tied to anything else. Yeah, I think it would be nice to break things out into areas. It would be good for internal use to know how much each thing is, but as far as the overall total and what's going over to Paint Scout, it's just going to be one grand total at the bottom. Yeah, that's correct. Every estimate's going to start fresh with the blank template. It would be nice to adjust what the blank template is, or potentially, depending on the project type in HubSpot, a different template gets used. But for version 1, I would say let's just have one standard template that gets used every time. And if someone wants to go back and modify that template, they can. Again, we're just trying to have a parity between the Google Sheet process, which is it starts blank every single time. Obviously, they could go clone some other Google Sheet that was similar, but in general, it's just a blank template from the start and you put in all your numbers. I just want to jump in here and pause for a second and say, if this is overwhelming or mind boggling or exciting, that's what Boolean is here for. So, what our team does is we help take the mundane, boring, automated, archaic processes that you have in your painting business and we automate those processes. This video that I'm making is one small example of automating processes in your business. We have an entire team of people that's dedicated on streamlining operations for painting companies specifically. So if that's you and you want a free discovery call, please check the link down below and our team will be happy to sit down with you and see how we can help. This is what we do and this is what we love doing. So obviously, take a stab at it yourself. Show us what you built. Send us a link. I love seeing what people have built with all this stuff, with all the videos that I put out there. But if you want to go further and take this to the next level, that's what we're here for. All right, back to the video. It could be any of those. Sometimes they work off drawings, sometimes it's a takeoff result, and sometimes it's a site visit. Do you have further clarification on that? All right, so here it's giving me the overview of the tool. So login per estimator, HubSpot integration, estimate structure, job header info, um, uh, line items, summary math, global settings per job. I think that's good. Let's proceed. Okay, so now it is creating the full spec document. Okay, I do want to make sure that this isn't a full build plan. So I want this to be like a master plan markdown file, and it has everything broken down into sprints so that Lovable is more likely to be able to do this one sprint at a time. Right now, it looks like there's a ton of information, but this is going to be very hard for it to tackle in one shot. So could you please do this one more time and then give it to me in a single like master plan markdown and break it into whatever appropriate number of sprints you think is necessary and add even more context to certain places to make sure the UI works and all the different sub pages and everything are really, really tight. Now, what I just did there is a critical piece because you need to make sure that the um, file that you give Lovable has all the detail. I've found that when I use Claude, Claude does a great job of planning and digesting and thinking and designing it. And Lovable can execute very specific prompts, but if you allow too much of the thinking or designing to happen inside of Lovable, that's when things start to break down. So, as you can see, what I just did here was I asked Claude, "Hey, let's go rethink this. It's a good initial plan, but I want you to break it into sprints so that I can take that file and move it over to Lovable and then have Lovable just chip away one by one on each of the sprints." Okay, so now it has given me an updated markdown file and it's broken it into actually 10 different sprints, which is pretty impressive. So here's my master plan file. I'm going to download this master plan. I'm going to go over to Lovable and then I'm going to take the master plan that was just downloaded, drop it into here, and then say, here is a master plan for an estimate calculator that I'm building. Please save this master plan to the project files so that it can be referenced throughout the build process and then begin working on sprint one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let this run. And now this part can take anywhere from 5 minutes to I've seen it go as long as 15. So we're going to let this run for a while and then we'll come back and check on the progress. But I do want to clarify all the work that I did in Claude, that scope is to make this part super efficient and easy. And then you're going to see over here on the side that it's going to start working through these sprints. And the only thing I have to do is come back here and once in a while check on it to make sure that it did the first sprint correctly and then start the second and third and so on. So what I like to do is generally allow it to run the first time. What you'll normally see is it's going to ask for like, do you want to enable this? You're going to have to approve. What I've done inside of my Lovable account is just given it permission to always enable the cloud and things like that. So it's going and just like working through those next steps. And once it does the first sprint successfully, I'm going to actually queue up the other sprints 2 through 10 so that as soon as one finishes, the next one just starts going after that. So we're going to first let it finish sprint number one, and then we'll check on that progress. Once that's good, then we're going to queue up all other 10 after that. Okay, so sprint number one is now complete. So it's going to show us we've got a login screen here. I'm going to go ahead and say, um, what is a user that I can log in with to see everything? Does that exist yet? If not, can you make me some credentials? So I want to see how it did on this first initial sprint. So um, it's going to, I need to actually log into this new app and I don't have the ability to do that yet. So, well, actually, what I could try and do, maybe this already works, is I could sign up. Um, I know it's going to create a test account for me. Okay, so I'm going to use this admin email and this password and then sign in. Okay, so I have a dashboard and nothing else, but that's sweet. I got a dashboard. So now we're going to go ahead and start sprint 2. And then this is where I was saying you can queue up a bunch of things. So while that's running, I'm going to just say start sprint 3 and I can drop that in. And then we can do start sprint 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I'm going to let this run and then we'll come back and check on the progress once it's done. All right, guys. So sprint 9 and 10 completed. This is incredible. This is like the world premiere of this builder here. So to recap, exactly what I did. I had a spreadsheet. I gave it to Claude. I asked Claude to ask me a bunch of questions. I then had it write a prompt for Lovable. But before I did that, I said, go ahead and write me a full master plan, start to finish, the whole thing with sprints. So it created this massive prompt, and I plugged it in. I let all 10 prompts run, and this is the output. This is like absolutely insane. So I'm gonna go. I have this published, so I can actually go view it at a brand new location. So I'm going here right now, commercialpaint.lovable.app, and look at this. I'm gonna just do sign up. I have no idea if this is gonna work. Chris Kiefer, Chris at helloboolean.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Create account, and I'm in. So I just made my brand new account. I'm going to go ahead and click new estimate. Um, master builders, location, earth, bid date. I mean, this is unbelievable. Uh, drawing date, Rev 1. So I've got areas. So here's my area. I can choose which line items do I want. Okay, this first one's just going to be some drywall repairs and doors. So I've got 12 drywall repairs. We've got 20 metal doors. Oops. 20 metal doors. 20 of those. 20 frames. Coats on all of them. So that's going to take $204 of materials, 4.2 hours. And the rest of that looks good. I can add another area. So this could just be like, we'll call this drywall and doors. And I can add another area here. This one we're going to do drywall first and second coat. And let's say that it's 3,000 square feet of drywall. 3,000. Again, I'm not 100% sure if all these numbers are correct. If like those are, though, we'd have to check in the formulas, but presuming that it did the formulas correctly, we'll call this one building 2. All right. And then my hourly rate's $28 an hour. Let's say I want to change this to I'm going to bill $85 an hour, and the overhead is 115. Profit. There we go. Or actually, so I'm guessing the way this is built, we're saying that it's $30, 15% profit on that. We're going to go ahead and put in 150 for gas. uh, 200 travel time, and that's it for that. So here we go. Our breakdown, total bid price. I can put in notes. If I want to say anything else about that, I could just say, just going to take this whole thing, put it in the notes section. This is what I would theoretically copy and paste into Paint Scout for a better proposal. But this, again, just like what I can't emphasize enough is that I just built an app and this is custom. So if I don't like how this looks, if I want materials bigger, like check this out. I can go in here and I'm looking at a bid and I could say, like in the totals column, it's not showing totals. So I can go in here and say on this page, I need this to show the total amount of each estimate. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And this is the type of thing that it's going to start, calculating and then show the totals in this column once it finishes processing. And then also you can see that I've got a user page. So the individual user signed up, me. I also have the admin user that I created in the system. I could make this person an admin if I wanted. It looks like the admin has access to the product list and to templates. And yeah, so it's just, we'll let it finish this thinking here. It's fetching estimates of line items, total optimization. And any one of these things I could even, so many possibilities here. Let's say you go in here and I want to make it so that I could save this as a PDF. You can have that set up so that it outputs a PDF format that you like. You could have it email the PDF to people, whatever you're looking for. So again, I just want you to see when this is done processing. There we go. So now my totals are showing up. So there's going to be lots of little things like that you have to be patient around and just know that that's what you're going to have to do is like make sure that it's all dialed in the way that you want. But in general, I think this is exactly what I wanted to see. It worked. There's some other things that we could do with integrating it with HubSpot or Paint Scout potentially. But you could also just slowly build out all those other things inside of here. I was just trying to make an estimating tool, and I think we accomplished that. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully this was valuable. What are you building in Lovable? What would you like to see us build? If this gives you any ideas or you want to share what you've come up with, please let us know. Love to see what you're working on. And if you want to try out this app, like anyone can go, it's published currently on commercial-paint.lovable.app. And you can go see what we built and play with it. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.